Good morning as we go to the Chitas of today. Today is the third day of the week, which is the third part of the Parsha of Lech Lecha. And we continue with the story of Avraham Avinu. Chapter 13, verse number 5. Avraham, and also Lot who went with Avraham Avinu. He had flock and cattle, all him in tents. So Rashi says, what brought him about all this wealth, light? Self-understood, it was because he went with Avraham Avinu. He hung around Avraham Avinu, his uncle. And as long as he hung around Avraham Avinu, everything was great. He became extremely wealthy. The land did not appear them to dwell together. They had too much cattle. Because they had extremely wealth, big, many possessions. They could not sit together, dwell together. Rashi says, was unable to supply enough pasture for the cattle. But this is the abbreviated expression. An additional wording is needed, as explained, as the pasture, the land could not bear them. Therefore, it's written in the masculine gender. Suddenly, and there was a quarrel between the herdsmen of Avram and between the herdsmen of Lot. And the Canaanites and the Perizzites were living in the land. Rashi says, since Lot's herdsmen were wicked, and they pastured their animals in fields belonging to others, Avram herdsmen rebuked them. They're committing robbery. But they responded, the land was given to Avram. And who has no heir, he doesn't have any family. No children. So therefore, really everything belongs to us. So the Lights can inherit it all. And therefore, this is not robbery. Just Torah says the Canaanites and the Perizzites are then living in the land. What does that mean? Avram had not yet been awarded the possession. You might say that he's one thing and inherited, but right now he didn't inherit it. So therefore, you have no right that they would go in lands that belong to other people. Avram says to Lot, Al not tia mediva. Please let there not be a quarrel. Why we're to argue between why should there be a fight between me and you, a family? Between my herdsmen and your herdsmen. After we have kinsmen, we're brothers. Rashi says, meaning they were relatives, but everybody knows they were relatives. What's it possible to tell us? Therefore, it actually says that I got it. The Medrash says they resembled each other. Lot and Avraham Avinu actually look like one another. So when people, Avraham Avinu, that's why Lot was a problem with Avraham, because everybody, whatever he did, people would say, oh, Avraham Avinu did it, because they look like one another. They call out, it's the whole land is before you. You put it on my life, go your way. Ismail Avinu, if you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. Now she says, wherever you dwell, I will not distance myself from you. We're family, and I'll stand by you to protect you. I'll always be there for you. And he ultimately needed him. That's the story later on. As we learned that happened, Avram heard that what happened to Lot. That Lot was captured by Sdom. So Avram Avinu promised him, don't worry. I'm your uncle, I'm your family. I will always protect you. Yamina, grammatically, this means I will go towards the right. Smila, I will go towards the left. We say this should be vocalized of Yamina. Find the same in other places. If you can turn Lahamin, it's vocalized in that kind of a way, even though maybe it should have been vocalized differently. Vayisav Lot Taseinav, and Lot raised his eyes. Ayad is called Kika Ayad, and he saw the entire plain of the Jordan. Kula Mashke, it was entirely watered. Neshakas Hashem is day before God destroyed the city of Zdai. Samayra. In Gan Hashem, this whole area of Sdei Amora was beautiful. Keretz Mitzrayim B'Chatzar, as in the land of Egypt, as you come to Tzayar. Rashi says that he looked at the land and he saw that it was a land of streams of water. Hashem, that whole area was beautiful land before ultimately the story of the destruction of Sdoi, which still today is barren land. Yigan Hashem was beautiful trees. Keretz Mitzrayim had great vegetation. Bachat Zoyer until Zoyer. What's that meaning? And the Medrash interprets it's unfavorably. It's because they were lascivious. And light shows their region from. So it says even though this was Canaan, we spoke before that Mitzrayim was more immoral. Canaan was moral people. But in the city, in Canaan at that time, there was a group of people that were like Mitzrayim. There were people like Mitzrayim. They lived in Sdei Amora. They were terrible people, as the Torah tells us later. Immoral people, so they were like the Egyptians. And what does Lot go? Lot decides to go to live there. The Lot choose to go live there. Higher plains of the Jordan. And Lot traveled from the east. And they parted one from another. Asher's Kika, the plains of, it's called, meaning the plains, Mikedem. He traveled from besides Abraham and went away to the west, which is the east of him. And so he traveled from east to west. According to the Medrash Haggadah, he distanced himself from the ancient one. He not only did he go away from Avraham Avinu, as long as it was by Avraham, he was connected to God. But he traveled away from Abraham and he traveled away from God. He said, I care neither about Abraham and neither about God. I'm going on my own. Avraham Yasher Beretz Canaan. Avraham lived in the land of Canaan. And Lot lived in the cities of the plains. Vayal at Sdoi, and he pitched his tents until Sdoi. That's why he pitched his tents and his herdsmen until the cattle until Sdoi. So we said he had extremely a lot of wealth. The people of Sdoi were very evil and sinful against God. Rashi says, Ashi's Daim, nevertheless, Lot did not hesitate to come to move into their place of living. As the rabbis say, live from here. The name of the wicked shall not rise. And we mentioned them, the Torah speaks of their evil. Right away, when we just mentioned Daim, where Lot went to move. Right away, the Torah tells us what amazing thing that Lot goes to move to a very evil place. Royim, what means evil with their bodies? Chatoyim, what means sinful with their money? Hashem Meyoid, what means to God? They recognized their master and intended to rebel against him. So they were not just evil out of ignorance. They were evil out of intentional evil. And God says to Abraham after Lot departs him, raise your eyes, and from where you are, look, the northwards, Tzafaina, Vanegba to the southwards, Kedama to the eastwards, Yama to the westwards. Rashi says, Achi, why did the Torah tell us after Lot left him? As long as this wicked man was with him, divine speech withdraw from him. That's what you see. Avraham Avinu was such a chesed to his family, Lot, that even though, as long as Lot was there with him, the Abish didn't speak to him. He was willing to stick with Lot until he had no choice but to send Lot away. And then the Abish talks to him. So the Abish says, "Look at this whole beautiful land. This whole land." Which you see at Nena, I'm giving it. At Nena, I'm giving it to you. To your seed for eternity. And I'll make you see like the dust of the earth. So that if man will be able to count the dust of the earth, so they'll be able to count your offsprings. But actually, dust is impossible to count the dust. To be counted, so too your seed will not be able to be counted. Stand up and go to the breadth of the land. Arcle it up, go to the length and its breadth. Because I'm giving you this land. Avram pitched his tent and he came and dwelt in the plains of Mamre. Shem, I think. I'm sorry, Hashem Hebron, which is in Hebron. Avram Avinu moved to Hebron. And he built an altar there. Mamre, what's Mamre? Claims of Mamre Shem Adam. It's the name of a person. The place was called Mamre. Later on, on an Eshkol of Mamre, it's mentioned later also, they were the advisors of Avram Avinu. They were his close friends, Mamre, and that's why he's mentioned over here the plains of Mamre. So Mamre was a very important person at that time. That Hebron, that in Hebron there was a city that was called after plains of Mamre. They were called after the person Mamre. Later on, tells Mamre actually was one who told him circumcise himself. But that's why it's mentioned. You should know who the name Mamre. Okay, it completes the Chumash of today. We now continue the Tanya, the 26th letter of Tanya. So, the Alter Rebbe, I'll give you a little Kabbalistic over here. Put your thinking or listening caps on. Alter Rebbe will now point on a careful reading of the passage of Rai Mehemna. Alter Rebbe is going to explain the Rai Mehemna, which the letter has explained, that we can maybe take the Rai Mehemna, the Zohar, take the part of the Zohar, which is called the Rai Mehemna as part of the Zohar, reveals that it's not the law themselves, nor the study of them that are termed tree of knowledge and good and bad. Rather, this term is applied to the actual food or the act or other things that are prohibited or permitted, which derive from the tree of Klippas. So the Rai Mehemna is not talking about the law. The Rai Mehemna is talking about what the law pertains to. So when the Torah says a kosher animal is permitted and a non-kosher animal, we're talking about the Rai Mehemna is talking about the animal that comes from the tree of good and bad, not the law. The animal itself, that thing comes from the tree of good and evil. And that's the mistake. They thought that the Rai Mehemna, the Zohar, is talking about the law itself. The Alter Rebbe says, Chas v'shalom, the law itself comes from the tree of God. It's part of the Torah. The Zohar is talking about what the law pertains to. That your kosher cow is a kosher animal and a pig is a non-kosher animal. So the cow itself comes from the tree of good and bad, because you can use that cow for good, and Chas v'shalom, you can use that cow for not good. You can have a steak and you can eat it for gluttonous reasons, or you can have a steak and eat and use it to open your mind to the learning of Torah. So the steak itself comes from the tree of good and bad. Even a kosher steak comes from the tree of good and bad. And that's what the Zohar means. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is going to prove. In truth, if you look closely at the quoted text of the Rai Mehemna, the quoted text of the Zohar, the wording is Vilana de Tevara, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Meaning, the Zohar says, the eel is which is what is prohibited and what is permitted. So if you look at the word, it's not Teiras Isveheta, the law. It says what is permitted and what's prohibited. You will note it doesn't say the teaching of what is permitted and what is prohibited. A hilchas of the law of what is permitted and what is prohibited, which would suggest that God forbid the tree of knowledge and good deeds, that the law is like that. The Zohar is not talking about the law. The Zohar is talking guf davarasim with how where comes something that is prohibited and what something it's all created by God. So how do you have a cow or something and a pig that a cow is permitted and a pig is not prohibited? Aren't they both creation of God? So the Zohar says those things come from the tree of good and bad. So the Zohar is talking about the physical thing itself, right? It means to say the actual thing which is prohibited or the thing which is permitted is the tree of good and bad. Through klippas nega, which is a klippa that shines. So we learned in Tanya, there are two klippas, there are two coverings in the world. The whole world is a klippa. Everything physical is a klippa, means a covering. There's a covering that shines. There's a covering that doesn't shine. So something that is permitted is a covering that shines. And the truth is, that is the tree of good and bad. Tree of good and bad means you have something that can be translated either way. Today, that's a big problem. We know this is a humongous problem. What's true and what's not true? We can argue about this from day and night. What is right and what is wrong? It's such a mixture. It's such a clipper. It's such a covering that you don't know what is right and what's wrong anymore. Everybody can say what I say is right. Another guy says, no, what I say is right. And you know what is right. There cannot be two rights. So we have a clipper. The truth is so covered by this clipper that your mamish cannot know what is right and what's wrong. It's such a mix-up situation. So there are certain covers that are it's so covering that you'll never know that it's what you'll never reveal its truth. And then you have a purpose that you could, covering that shines, that could be revealed. That's why it says, for example, if I eat a steak, I'm going back to the kosher steak. If I eat this kosher steak for a gluttonous reason, so really I continue the covering of this thing that not to reveal its truth, but ultimately I can use it out for good. And therefore I can break that covering. Klippat noga, which means a covering that shines. There's light in it, it's covered. There's light in it. It's going to one day hopefully break through. I stated in Kabbalah. This is the fact, the meaning of the word asur. Asur means something that's forbidden. But asur also means something that is bound. Like a beis asurim. In Hebrew, a jail is called a beis asurim. What does it mean? It's a house of people that are locked in. They can't get out. They're bound. They're stuck in a building. They're stuck in a certain place. They can't have freedom. So when you're asur, beis asurim, that's a klippa shayla. It's like putting godliness in a jail. You take godliness. God created everything in the world, and it's locked up. The klippa hovers on, forbidding the thing, you can't open it up. So that's why a cow is called mutter. It's opened for revelation. A pig is asur, prohibited, because it's non-openable. You'll never be able to reveal its godliness. It's locked up. It has a godly force with it. Everything has a godly force. But it's asur. God says, this animal, it's a wonderful animal, but it's not capable to reveal its godliness, and therefore do not connect to it. So this cannot arise aloft to holiness like the one which is mutter, which means is permitted, unbound. So God says the cow is unbound. The light in the cow, the godliness of this cow could be revealed. Now that a cow is allowed and a pig is not allowed, only God can say that. Nobody can say, you know what? How do you know what is concealed? Who can come up and say, oh, the cow, it is a godly power that can be revealed. The pig, Not only the Eibishter can say that. Only God can say that because nobody knows the energies of godly energies that are in an animal. And it doesn't make one better over the other. The Hainu the Koshev Ospek Well, mutter means that the permitted objects is not tied and bound to the clipper that anchors it. It has the capability to reveal itself. And therefore it has the capability. Who's going to reveal it? Eibishter gave a Jew the possibility to reveal it. Eibishter, the Zakis itself, Eibishter wanted to give humanity so many schusim. So he said, listen, take this cow, take this apple, take whatever, any kind of food that's kosher, and make a bracha of it. Havanu Hashem, use it out for the sake of heaven. And you'll be able to reveal the godliness in it. God mistam, and this applies to when there's no specific intent. Whoever uses that, let's say I'm just eating for health. I'm eating to be healthy. What do I need to be healthy for? Because I need to serve the Eibishter. So that's time. Not that this apple, I'm using it out. If I don't drink my coffee in the morning, it's hard for me to daven. I need that coffee. I need the coffee to wake me up. What do I need to wake up for? You go daven. So automatically, I didn't have the connection to connect the coffee to the davening. I just basically drink coffee to have strength, to be awake. And I want to be awake when I daven. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty. Whether you have the connection, you hopefully say, I'm doing this. But the natural connection, I need to have strength. I wake up in the morning. You can't talk to me till I have a coffee or maybe 2 coffees. And that's like 3 coffees. That's like you can't talk to another person. Maybe you can't talk to the Eibishter before you have a couple of coffees. So you need that coffee. So therefore, what are you using the coffee out? Able to daven, able to go learn. So what happens? That's what's happening. The happening is that the letters of Torah and the prayer which is sent to God are formed out of the energy. All comes from the energy that you drank the coffee or you ate the food. Very famous statement of the Temple Tzedek, who told his daughter-in-law, better to eat to daven than to daven to eat. We should eat to daven, to have koyach to daven, than to daven that we should eat. So therefore, he told her to eat before davening. You need koyach to daven. Self-understood. You need strength. So eat to daven. Even though you're not eating this, but that's natural. You need to have koyach to daven. In other words, life force that derives from Klippot are thereby elevated to God. That's the beauty. So we eat, we daven, we eat, we go to learn, we eat, we go and do good things. We have strength to do good things. And this is all during the week. In order to the food to eat on a weekday to be elevated, must be utilized for Torah and prayer. If I do nothing, I drink a coffee and I don't do daven, I don't learn. And then I use the energy, to have a good day. But Hashem, I'm going to even to work and mundane things have nothing to do with God. So therefore, I need to go and use the energy to go daven. I need to go and use the energy to go learn or to go do a mitzvah. The beauty of Shabbos, Abba Shabbos. Yes, in Shabbos in general, the whole world is elevated. On Shabbos, the whole world is at a whole different level. It releases itself. If you always look in the davening before Shabbos, it tells you what happens. On a Friday night, it's Aliyas Eilamis, the whole world is put on a whole different plateau. Therefore, it's called Kodesh. It's called holy in itself. Now, a Jew can make it even more holier, but it's holy on itself. It's elevated the world. Im Chatzonish Shukal Elimis. So on Shabbos, Klip's Neig itself is elevated. Together with all the external aspects, the whole world is elevated. For the Shabbos is characterized elevation of the world. Aliyas Elimis. And therefore, mitzvah le'echol kol Torah b'Shabbos. Therefore, it's a mitzvah to eat all pleasurable things on Shabbos. For the sake of eating Shabbos, not because you're going to daven, learn. For the sake of having a good Shabbos. For the sake of having a happy day. Having a beautiful Shabbos. Shabbos itself is a holy day. So on a regular day, you have to eat to learn, because you're just going to have a wonderful day. Then you haven't elevated the food. You took the food and you brought it down. On Shabbos, Eskism day, that's actually added food. You have to eat a third meal. And you have to lasanik b'tanugim. You have to have all the delights on Shabbos. Food should be better. Kainig. Laharbis bebas b'yayim, but taking more meat and wine on Shabbos. So in the weekday, a person does eat, not for a purpose. He eats to eat, to enjoy food. On the weekday, you call a glutton. And a drunkard, you start drinking. What are you drinking for? On Shabbos, you're a day to eat and have good food and drink. Because Shabbos itself, to enjoy the Shabbos with good food, is itself a mitzvah. Likewise, but the opposite was something that's awesome. Something that's prohibited. Eating not a kosher product. That is called usr. I can dance. I can eat on Shabbos. Not going to help me. It's prohibited. You cannot ascend to holiness neither on Shabbos nor on the weekday. It's not going to help anything. It's usr. It is locked away. So even if one prays and studies with that energy, you say, "No, but I'm using that energy to daven." You can't do that. You might use the physical energy, but the spiritual energy is locked away. Therefore, the only time you're allowed to eat non-kosher, chas v'shalom, if you're in a life and death situation. Then the non-kosher, then the non-kosher becomes kosher. So if it becomes a life and death situation, and if you're gonna eat this pig, you're gonna live. If you're not gonna eat this pig, you're gonna die. Then then the pig comes kosher. I believe it, I tell you. Right, so that's what the Zohar is talking about. The Zohar is talking about there are certain things that the physical things in the world come from the tree of good and bad, and there are certain things meaning that could become good, and there are certain things in the world that are usr, that are bad to the spiritual existence of to the spiritual purpose of life. Not that they're bad physically, they're bad for the spiritual agenda. And the meaning is, I give the example of the pig again, you cannot do anything with this pig. So you can survive, as the law says, if you have no choice, eat non-kosher and survive. But you cannot elevate godliness with this pig. There's not going to happen. Pig is usr. That's what the Zohar is talking about. That's what's talking about Amen. I believe it, I tell you, but when it comes to the study of Torah, I feel whether you're learning that a pig is not kosher, whether you're learning that a cow is kosher, you have the Torah, talks about a pig and a cow. Something that's pure and unpure. Mishnayis Gemara, which is all the you can learn all this in the Mishnayis, oral law, in the Brises, in the Gemara, Upsukim, or you're gonna learn it in the codified place, in the codifiers. Which explain and clarify the Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, Paskin, codifiers and interpreters, etc., etc. The Hainen Gifter, which just all constitute the oral law. They are all Sfidus Malchus, that's Sfidus. They all come from the Sfida Malchus of the world of Atzilus. These are not something that are come from the line of the Teivarad. These doesn't come from the tree of bad and good and bad. They all come from the Sfida Solyanus. It is a Bizayah, which we find in the Zayah unlimited amounts of times. In the beginning of Tikkunim of Zayah, Malchus pet Teire Shabbat Pekarina, Malchus, Savidigs, Malchus of the world of Atzilus, is called the mouth, which is calls the oral Torah. The oral Torah comes from Malchus of the world of Atzilus. Ubatzilus, and in the world of emanation, the Zayah writes, and the world of in the world of Atzilus, the world of emanation, he and his causations, organs, Gameu, it's a Aramaic word. He or him and his Gameu, his causations, or you can translate it as his organs, is one. So the Zohar says in Atzilus, the Eibishter and his Pirot are one. In that world, it's a world of unity. It's a world of oneness. So meaning that the infinite light of Ein Sof and the vessels which emanate from him, and so too, his attributes are all one with him. In the spirit, they're all one entity. What is that meaning? What is the meaning of the Zohar? This is a statement in the Zohar. It's a very loaded statement. You know, you learn Chassidus and Kabbalah, this is an extremely loaded, so to say, a loaded statement. That in the world of Atzilus, the Ein Sof and the vessels and the Sfirot are all one. What is the meaning? It's out there. Starts to explain it. It's very, very hard statement to explain. And the infinite light of God unites itself in Atzilus, in the world of emanation, in an absolute unity, so that he and his will and his wisdom vested in his speech are all, which is called Ma'at, are entirely one. That's what the Chassidim would say, that when the Alter Rebbe couldn't say the word Atzilus, he wouldn't be able to express that world. Because the Alter Rebbe in essence saw Atzilus. We don't see this. So he couldn't say the word Atzilus. It was such a high level of spirituality that he couldn't even say the word. The divine, the indivisible level of divinity can thus be described as, in compound terms, as a tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the laws of so they cannot be described as compound terms of tree of, you can't say that in the world of Atzilus. How can you say that on the world of Atzilus? It's like the world, the tree of good and bad does not fit in the world of Atzilus. The laws of the Torah, the Mishnah, and Baraita, the legal codes which relate to the spirits of Malchus of the world of Atzilus, take the same individual unity, in the visible unity. These laws cannot be described for the tree of good and evil. If they come from the world of Atzilus, even Malchus of the world of Atzilus, then you cannot use on them the term that they come from the tree of good and bad. And therefore, you must say out that Rebbe says that the meaning of the Zayah is not talking about the laws. The meaning of the Zayah is talking about the actual animals, the actual physical, what the law is talking about, not the law. The law itself comes from the tree of knowledge, comes from the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, comes from God himself. Him and his knowledge is one. And That's end of the Tanya of today. I think it was pretty clear. After that, and today is the 7th day of the month. The Tillim of the day is chapter 39 to chapter 43. And if you say those 5 chapters of Tillim, you do the chitas of the day. I wish you all a good day. And Mitzvah, we'll see you all tomorrow at 8 a.m. We'll continue chitas. Have a wonderful and beautiful